Before we begin, this discussion examines one of the biggest questions facing British politics. Who could lead Labour after Keir Starmer, and what qualities would that leader need? Andy Burnham has long been viewed as one of Labour's most recognizable regional figures, but does public popularity translate into national leadership? As you watch, pay attention to the comparisons being made and consider whether personality, experience, or policy is ultimately more important in choosing a prime minister.
Let's talk about Andy Burnham. He is Keir Starmer's likely successor. He was an MP, then he became Manchester's mayor, known as King of the North. Now he is, as of this week, sworn in as an MP. And it seems like he solves the problem of Keir Starmer's perhaps lack of personality. His personality problem, Andy Burnham has a personality, it seems, in the UK. What are the differences here? And do you think that he could perhaps get the confidence and regain the confidence rather of Labour voters in the country?
I mean, I keep dipping back into American politics, but it strikes me as very similar, again, in '92 to H.W. Bush and to Clinton. Starmer's like Bush, upstanding, serious person, but can't connect and doesn't think in these terms. Looks at his watch during a debate when discussing human emotions. Clinton bites his bottom lip, can engage authentically with people in a way that no other politician at the time could. This is to simplify a little bit. It's to help make it memorable to viewers that Starmer and Burnham are similar to that. Burnham has an effortlessness about himself. He's comfortable in his own skin. He has a sense of humour. He has a northern accent. That matters a lot. I mean, this country is the same size as Michigan, but the north and south as a difference is enormously important culturally. And certainly the idea that London is divorced and separate and runs the country, which is increasingly not the case. We've had devolution since 1998 for Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland, and increasingly in England, which is why Burnham went to become mayor of the Greater Manchester region, having felt that his opportunities in Westminster were limited. But also it reflected the fact that the regions have more authority than they used to have because of this desire to rebalance the country, which was enormously centralized. In the States, you've got New York and you've got Washington for finance and for politics, LA for media. Everything in the UK is in London, or at least historically was. And so to spread this around, even the Conservatives under Boris Johnson described it levelling up as an issue. Churchill discussed this 100 years ago about industry and finance and about the latter being more successful because it's near London, based in London, and it rewards itself rather than thinking about the concerns of those elsewhere. So Burnham does that, both in terms of communication and in terms of a policy platform. His inclinations. Burnham has been a front-rank political figure for 30 years. Starmer's appeal in part was he wasn't a politician. Of course, neither was Trump, but Trump has that ability to communicate, that charisma, which can compensate for lack of experience. Starmer didn't have that. Burnham comes into this now with the personality, with that time in the front line of politics, but
At this
he
stage,
inherits
the
the same.
conversation moves beyond personality and focuses on governing ability. The comparison suggests that communication skills may help a politician connect with voters, but effective leadership also depends on preparation, decision-making, and building a capable team. Throughout modern British politics, successful governments have often been judged not only by campaign performance, but by how prepared they were to govern once elected. So what matters more to you? A leader who inspires public confidence, or one with a detailed plan for governing? Share your thoughts in the comments.
Politics, but he inherits the same problems that left Starmer bewildered at the end of his time as Prime Minister.
And aside from giving the North a voice, aside from being able to connect more with people, how will he approach those problems differently than Starmer?
Well, we don't know, is a short answer. And just as one of the major problems for the Starmer administration, I would actually regard it as the fundamental problem, the besetting sin of the Starmer government was the lack of preparation. It was astonishing to me and to many other commentators and observers that they could come to office after 13 years out of power, but at least 3 years of him as leader, and been so unprepared for office. This contrasted very adversely with Blair in '97, which really hit the ground running, that government, with weightier figures in the cabinet and with lots of preparation with the civil service and the administrations, the ministers, the advisors and bureaucrats that would assist them before they got to office. That wasn't the case with Starmer. They were almost, this is a very widely used metaphor, making the plane as they were flying it. Now, Burnham has less time than Starmer did to prepare, but they at least have the experience of these 2 years of the Starmer government, not even 2 years yet, as to what not to do. And Burnham has a much clearer sense of what he wants to do. Now, in general terms, it's reduced to this word Manchesterism. which was a word originally in the 19th century to refer to Manchester as the cradle of economic liberalism in Britain, shall we say, of trade, of industry, which is why Burnham is very big on this, on the bee insect. He has on his lapel a bee. Anywhere in Manchester, you see bees on their buses and on the street, people have tattoos of bees because bee is the symbol of Manchester, i.e., an industrious worker bee. This is the metaphor he's using. So he's coming as a person on the soft left of Labour, but very pro-business. So he's using his time in Manchester. And some say it's exaggerated because his authority is limited as mayor of Manchester. But nevertheless, as embracing public control of utilities, if not ownership, then control, about being business friendly. And this is very important because of the bond markets, of the cost of borrowing. He's made some injudicious remarks about borrowing. He's not an economics prime minister at all, any more than Starmer was, but he has a track record. And he's got good people around him, people like Andy Haldane, the former chief economist of the Bank of England, people like Jim O'Neill, the economist who devised BRICS, the acronym for the developing world. Some smart people in advance to try and stay the markets, to try and suggest that he will not be an irresponsible prime minister. And the number one appointment for him, the most critical appointment he will make, is who will be his chancellor. We may come on to that, but that's really the number one issue. We don't know yet for another week or two until he becomes prime minister. We think on 17th of July. Other than Manchesterism and the idea of greater public control, he also supports devolution, greater devolution, so more power being sent from London to the regions, more directly elected mayors around the country, more powers and more tax raising potentials for these authorities. Also is big on electoral reform. And he's mooted some ideas about genuinely changing the way politics is done in Westminster, such as to the whipping system, the way that MPs follow discipline in their voting. So these all have great potential to be, if not game changers, certainly setting a different tone to politics. I think it's quite likely now, for example, well, the next Labour manifesto in 2029 likely will have electoral reform in it for the first time. And that is one way of addressing the fact that we have a system which was built, wasn't really built, which evolved for two parties, which alternated in office, now to this multi-party world we have of 5 or 6 parties in England and 7 or 8 parties in Scotland and Wales. And their devolved parliaments, incidentally, have very different electoral systems to reflect more proportionately how people vote, and therefore have more legitimacy than the Westminster system, which is based on this old model of first past the post. So there's the potential for great change there.
This discussion highlights a broader debate about the future direction of British politics and Labour's leadership. While Andy Burnham is presented as someone with a distinct communication style and regional experience, only time will determine whether those qualities translate into national leadership. Political leadership is ultimately judged by decisions, results, and public trust, not personality alone. We'd love to hear your perspective. Could Andy Burnham become a stronger prime minister than Keir Starmer? Or is the comparison still too early? If you enjoy balanced political analysis like this, please like, share, and subscribe for more fact-based coverage of UK politics and the stories shaping Britain's future.